Here it goes.
Here we go!
Welcome, folks, to another episode of you guessed it, Strife Talk. This is episode 7, and now the start of the show. Here is your host, Maxie.
Alright, let's do this. Welcome to Strife Talk, episode 7, with the amazing bearded man, Tintinfish Joe. Our
Hi.
Oh, sorry. You can wave again. Or drink, that's cool. From the pro section, we have the amazing R&R from Team Kaizen here to help us out with the more technical side of things. This really cool drawn still image is Mark the Fat Spears, who we of course know as the head tourney honcho from Strife HQ. And this guy right here is Vexy, your host of the show. Guys, thank you all very much for coming this week, and welcome, of course. This week, I'd like to go over that little thing that happened yesterday. Something where we kind of like lost all our progress, and some things were fixed, and some things were changed. How do you guys feel about that? Is there something that let's start this way? Is there something that stands out to you guys?
Progress. Well, what stands out, I guess, it's how they reworked the entire crafting system entirely. They said they're going to work on changing it so if you're not playing, you're not punished for not working on your items, but I didn't think they'd do away with the entire tempering entirely, so I'm surprised by that, and I'm kind of glad for that, too.
I think it was cool how they did that. I mean, they made it a lot more expensive to keep going with enchanting. Like right now, I have a item that's like 90% rare, and it's 37 just to enchant it from there.
I haven't tried enchanting yet. At this point.
And if you want to re-roll your rare bonus, too, they let you re-roll the rare bonus, that's like 60 elixirs, so you're guaranteed rares and legendaries, but it takes a lot longer to get there.
Legendaries are going to get really expensive in comparison to before.
Yeah, unless you get lucky, it's gonna take a while.
It goes up like 1 elixir on common, 3 in rare, and 5 in legendary for each 10% from what I've seen, so...
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
I also liked the edited whispering. Finally, the edited whispering. So I can
yes.
talk back to people.
Oh man, that was such a relief because I had. It was fun how you used to. It was fun how you like used to miss people when you were like in game and people wanted to play with you, but you were unable to respond, and some people kind of paid attention and they saw the red dot, and then other people didn't, and you missed each other. It always struck me as weird, like, why can't I reply? It seems like such a basic thing, and yet it wasn't there. So I'm really happy that we have that now. On top of that, I'm also really happy that there's like this, there used to be this inconvenience when you had to change your sound settings. You had to wait for the game to be over until you could actually select a different sound driver and stuff. And
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
like that you can do that in-game now, because the in-game VoIP was giving me a lot of troubles. I also, by the way, I also really like the fact that you can use voice activity now and that you don't have to use push to talk.
Yeah, you can set it that way. I don't know if I would, because of all the background noise, but nice that it's there. And typing in /SS so the characters actually say enemy is missing. So
Yeah,
now
I like
people
that,
can pay
I like that
attention.
little ad too. I liked what they did with the Mystic Dagger a lot too. They made it more of a late game item so it doesn't fall off like it used to.
Hmm.
No, I'm not really convinced by that yet. How do you think that it scales?
They increased the power a little bit, they increased the cost, which that kind of sucks, but it's not that big of a deal. But the changes were a little small, but they weren't, like, if you go into late game with a Mystic Dagger, it's going to fall off pretty hard. It's a pretty core item for your build if you go Mystic Dagger. Normally you'll see like a character like Ray or something build it as their first item. Well, now with the little bit of a buff that it got, it's more viable when you're getting into that later power stage.
It's kind of like I like to compare this to Frost Prism, right? Because when they felt that Frost Prism just wasn't quite there yet, and they upped it a little bit, and it became a little bit more viable, but it didn't really get to that point where you'd say, or at least where I'd say, yeah, it's super viable now. It got better, but I mean, and that's kind of where I'm at with Mystic Dagger. I mean, I got Mystic Dagger on Ray because it wasn't a bad item per se, but it just didn't feel really like it belonged into late game. And with the 8 power, if they would have like left the cost increase out of the picture, I'd say yeah, okay, it's super viable. Let's do that. But with the with the cost increase, I'm kind of torn. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out in
Yeah.
competitive play. If people are actually keeping it into the late game, or if they're, because okay, this is kind of personal R&R, but like imagine you're in a game. Do you see yourself selling it or keeping it? I mean, obviously you used to sell it, but like, are you gonna keep it now or are you gonna sell it? 'Cause
Personally,
yeah.
okay, well, first off, personally, I wouldn't use Mystic Dagger, but that's just my perspective. I think
Well,
there's
there
a
you
lot
go.
better items. I do think there's better items, but I think looking at it from the perspective that of the people that do use Mystic Dagger, it might be a little more beneficial to them in the long run. But it's not, the buff isn't such a game changer to make other people need to put it in their build more so. Like, you'll see some rooks run a Mystic Dagger, which it all comes down to preference, but I'd much rather use like a Demon Fang instead of that.
Oh yeah, Demon Fang.
By the way, did they fix the bug on Rook's Mystic Dagger thing where it wouldn't proc twice for his hook? Do you know that about that? Because originally it would only proc once when he'd throw out his hook, and then it wouldn't do it again when he repelled to his hook.
I don't know if they
I don't
fixed
know if they
it.
changed that.
I don't know if they fixed that really, to be honest.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Tinder stuff?
She's overpowered.
It was hard because they said they based it off the survey because they said they thought Tinder was the weakest, but it's kind of a loaded question because the question was like, who do you think is the weakest champion or the weakest hero? And it's kind of like they're all good. Like I never thought there was one character that was like the worst to everybody. So I guess it's kind of a loaded question. She kind of got a buff out of that loaded question, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think she was a little on the weak side, just like Caprice's, or was. I like what they did to her as well, but her kit still made her quite viable with her ult for objectives, towers, or Baldir or Sindara, or even a team fight because that plant can get really annoying. But I don't think she needed a super buff at all. And I mean, they only really changed her ult, which isn't that big of a deal, but they definitely helped her out a little bit, and she might be seen a little bit more.
I think one of the main things I think was touch and go with Caprice was that like when we're talking about late game in Caprice, you had to, if you had a really good game and you could like rush your pyro staff and those sort of items, you'd be okay late game. You wouldn't be super strong, but you'd be okay. And it's like in the patch notes they said that it was kind of like underwhelming to take the ultimate for Caprice, and I kind of agree with that because the ultimate it didn't really feel like it would do anything. It was a great tool for escaping. It was a great tool for like cleaning up. Like, oh, cleanup crew coming in, which is what I like about Caprice. Like, if you see somebody running away, pop that ult, get the shot off, boom, cleanup crew incoming. But like, they already gave her this small tweak to make her more efficient. Now, I like that small tweak. And now they're just pushing it. They're just following that and pushing it a little bit further. And especially for the ultimate, it's something I'm pretty fond of. And I'm definitely gonna play Caprice more. I don't know about like with the competitive eye on it. Do you think we'll see her more in competitive play now that the ultimate has been
Probably
effective?
not. It was like what, 10 more damage to it or 20? Like the up the damage to it and the cooldown.
They gave it about 30 to 35 more.
Yeah, I don't think it's the buff she needs to really tip her into the competitive scene. Like
They,
she's still
they
pretty
gave
much.
her cooldown too.
Sorry, what?
Sorry, they gave her a reduced cooldown a little bit too.
Yeah, I don't think it's really the thing that's gonna like push her into the competitive scene. Really, if she's gonna be used before, then she's gonna be used now. I don't think no one's gonna be clamoring for her, like over I don't know Bastion or something like that, or Minerva.
I agree. Caprice has a very high skill cap for whoever's playing her. You're either if you land everything, especially on a squishy, you're almost guaranteed a kill, depending on how farmed you are when you get to that point. But you miss your stun, you're kind of, like for a
Up
better word,
shit's creek.
screwed for a little bit. Yeah, she's very cooldown based and mana dependent. If you don't land your abilities correctly, uh, you're not going to do very well with her in general.
Yeah, but
and that's what kind of
you know, at the same time, we all know that a perfectly landed anchor can really turn a fight around. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, if
I
you land
agree.
the anchor, that's bad. I mean, the whole buff didn't really affect her anchor at all. Like, with the anchor cooldown was like if they had a anchor had a lower cooldown, maybe that put in a competitive scene. But it's only her ultimate, which was only used as a way to get from here to there. And I don't think that extra damage is really going to make a difference because, like Arnar said, if you don't land the anchor, your damage goes out the window.
I think
So,
the ult with the damage buff be used for a better towards a combination of damage than it was before, instead of like I'm just going to use it to get closer and it doesn't really matter at that point.
well, you know, the thing is that with her W with the anchor, I kind of view it like the stun is worth way more than the damage. So
no, you're right.
if you wanna increase the damage output, like you've said it yourself, R&R. She's a hero with a fairly high skill cap. So it's not a very good idea to pick her as like a first hero and then like you know start playing away with her or messing around. It's something that's more likely to fit into like a later stage of your player progression. And then you should be a little bit more accustomed to skill shots and so on. So if S2 really decides like, okay, we need to make her more viable and you know make her more of a DPS machine, I don't think that putting those points into like the anchor drop is the way to go. I'd probably like increase her Q damage.
I
Increase the
agree.
damage over time, right? And then on the second hit, like take a little bit of, you know, continue that line of thought where it's like a skill shot and a skill cap, and reward those players that are really delving into the game. So like, take the Q, and take the initial from the first wave, decrease the damage, but then up the damage from like the second wave. Like if you chain your abilities, land the anchor, immediately flush out the Q, that's high level of play. Reward that with more damage instead of like making her more a Vermilion type hero where you have like one active ability and the rest is just mind your positioning and go.
Well, she's more than just an anchor too. She's probably one of the better pushers in the game. So even without the anchor, she can still push a lane like none other. So I don't think she's just a one specific type of hero. So if you change her barrel, you have to change her. I guess if you change her barrel, she become more of a pusher character than a ganker character. That's at least how I see it.
At the moment,
Uh.
I see her as more of a ganker hero by a mile. Like, if you put anyone with any other form of CC with her, she can basically chase them down regardless. And she does have burst, whereas a lot of people think, oh, I must keep chasing.
Okay,
Alright.
so like this patch is kind of like an oddball thing for Strife Talk at this point because when we did the previous patch or when the previous patch hit, you know, Joe was there. You know how excited we all were because there were so many things being addressed, right? And now
Uh-huh.
the thing with this patch basically, let's be honest, they could have changed like the entire game mechanics, fixed every bug, and people would still be like, gems, gems, gems.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if I have gems, people can get their costumes and be yellow tinder or
Yeah.
purple vermilion.
And what I like about this is that I kind of predicted this a while back. Like I said, they limited the hero pool, so they threw in a certain income model out the way. So I kind of expected that I kind of expected that that the skins would be higher priced, right? That they'd be higher priced than in other MOBAs, and I'm okay with that because I'm like, they got to make money somehow, and it doesn't feel like a money grab to me. But what I like is that everybody's like negative on Reddit with with comments like enjoy the 2 skins you purchased for $50 or something. I'm like, well, I mean the skin doesn't make you play better, so it's only if you want to support the game, right? So why moan about it? I mean we get to play the game for free.
Because people are going to complain either way. Like, they were calling this game pay to win before gems were even installed, so that's those people.
Yeah.
Well, it's pay to win to a certain degree. I mean,
I will disagree with this on every step of the way that it's pay to win. I mean, it's pay to progress, but that item is not going to help you win your games.
you can pay to make your items permanent, right?
No, they're already permanent. Like, there's no more. I used to be you use elixir to make them permanent, but now everything's permanent regardless. So you're basically paying to open up an extra chest at the end. Like 15 gems, which is something.
So they changed that. Okay, I hadn't seen that yet. I hadn't gotten around to crafting yet.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. The crafting's different, so you don't need to. They give you less ore and elixirs now, because elixirs only for upgrading your item, and once you crafted something, that's crafted.
It's not that they're giving you less ore and elixir, it's your chests have like a certain value, and then each component, like each thing in it, has like a certain cost essentially towards that value, and then you get randomized like ore, elixir, and stuff out of your chests.
Yeah, but it is it do give you less elixir because it used to be like you get 15 elixir from a level 10 chest, and now it's like 2 or 3 or 4.
I've had 21 elixir from a level 10 chest.
Oh wow!
And other games have had like
Damn.
3 ore from a level 10 chest, and I'm like, what's this? Completely.
Yeah, I've gotten I think 15 off a level 9 chest before.
Remember the
I've never gotten
111
that.
days?
Yes, I do. I'm
Oh.
glad those are gone.
Those were fantastic.
And when people complain about matchmaking in chess right now, I go, let's go back to the old days of the beta. And then you'll be happy.
Oh man. Okay, but like I said, I mean, I don't really feel like this episode, it feels, like I said, it was kind of like an oddball thing because for me it feels like a natural thing to discuss the patch. I mean, there were changes, there were significant changes, but there's not so many game, balance changes where you can go like, oh, look what they did to Moxie, look what they did to Caprice, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
like-
probably the big thing.
I'm like, again, for me personally, this patch feels nice. There's nothing I really disagree with, So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm content with it.
Really mostly a social patch, because now they have whispering, they have the Twitch stuff that you can look, you can spectate your friends now. There's
all
better
the-
ways to keep it friends. It's a very social patch.
Yeah, it's all these
opposed to a game patch.
little nuisances got like nullified, and it makes it a more enjoyable game to play. It feels Strife feels a step closer to being mature now, right?
It does, it looks right. But the one concern I do have is with spectating your friends, because if Ryzen's team, if you got Kaizen's scrimming against, I don't know, TUSR, and they don't want people to look at their games, they don't have a way to stop that essentially. So if someone like from Team Men and not they wanted to go and check out their strategies, they can easily just go and do that. That's the one concern I have with spectating.
Yeah, we're a little worried about a lot of the pro teams are kind of worried about tomorrow with the spectating thing. I know a lot of people are taking just about everybody off their friends list. They don't want any other teams like trying to get their friends to ghost or anything like that. I mean, it notifies you when someone's coming in to spectate you, but not like you're gonna know who. You're not gonna have proof. It's a very touchy situation, I guess.
Yeah, I'm glad we're moving towards this because this is kind of like I was going to say I had something clever for this. I don't know if you guys watch Archer, but I swear I had a thing for this. But like that's kind of where I want to progress to. I mean, we got a big thing coming up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I mean,
Actually, before you go on, I want to ask Arnar. Arnar, how is Kaizen dealing with the no pets thing? Like with the giant web? Like, how's your team feeling? Or other teams feeling?
I think when it comes down to it, you're going to have the teams that, like Wolf Joe's team, or TUSR, or the Meta, Illuminati, Supernatural, that are spending the next day to 2 days just grinding their items out, right? So I think it's a good thing for a lot of these. It puts everyone on a sort of even track, but at the same time it doesn't, because you're going to have the people that really put the time in the next couple of days. They're going to come into this tournament with items for the characters they want to play, right? Well, there might be some people that can't put that time in, don't have the opportunity, that they're not going to be on that kind of level, which I know a lot of people that we know have been excited for this wipe to happen. I just think the timing was a little different.
Yeah, there's actually there's well, we have this big tournament coming up, and I have mixed feelings about the wipe because I was primarily negative about it, and then suddenly today a little more political view, a little more balanced view sank in, because what it did achieve. I mean, at first, let me start with the negatives. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is a bad move," because if people, we have this huge tournament coming on. We have this huge tournament coming up now. The chance for Strife to prove to all those naysayers that it can be competitive, and that it is a fun game to watch, and that there is money to be made, and that this will be the next League of Legends or next Dota or next Heroes of New Earth, right?
Hmm.
So, but the community has the belly of this community has been bubbling with people with people complaining about pay to win, right? So then
Oh.
we have these teams like Kaizen, Supernatural, Illuminati, Teach You Some Respect, etc., etc., etc. Um, and they have their pets, they have their crafted items, they have their stuff set up. So it's a really good display of what pros of how far pro players can take this game, right?
Hmm.
And then you take it and you throw it out the fucking window, right? So that okay, and here comes negative Nancy Vexy. He says like,
Hmm.
okay, well this is a silly move because now everybody's gonna start viewing this as pay to win because we're gonna see this big difference. We're gonna see this big difference where people will have pets and where other people won't have pets and where people will have. Well, we know there's grind sessions now. We know the pros are emphasizing on this, like, oh, we got to get back on track. But then I was like, you know what? Let's take negative Nancy out for a walk for a second and really think about this. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. Suddenly, Strife HQ, Fed, and correct me if I'm wrong. That's why you're here, right? Strife
Yeah.
HQ has seen well, not that many teams consistently playing. Not so
Yeah.
many participants. Now there's
Very
this huge
high.
prize pool, and everybody wants to get in on that. Now, if we hadn't had the wipe, how would those people have stacked up against Kaizen, right? At least
Well,
right now
Probably
we have a leveled playing field.
not as good. I mean, they can say pay to win, but Kaizen and TUSR and all those teams, they've been playing against each other nonstop. So those teams just kind of, like those hodgepodge teams, kind of put themselves together and don't play all the time. They're still going to lose. I mean, they can put all the money down they want, but Kaizen and all them are going to beat them just because they put in more time playing.
so I think there's a couple mixed things about this. I've looked at the brackets, and I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of these teams, like Teach You Some Respect, the meta. I know Wolf Joe's team, Nesh's team, not just on our end, but there's a lot of teams that have the potential to take this tournament. And there's a lot of teams out there with really good players. There could be a lot of these teams that we don't really know who they are, but they could have been practicing, this whole time and have that skill level that no one really knows about. I think what I like about Strife is that there's going to be a lot of people that will say that it's pay to win, but I mean, you can't really, because the only thing you can really buy through this money that would help you out is chests, and even then you don't know what other chest you're going to get. You can't pick a chest and buy it. It's RNG. So the people that are going to have those items and those pets are the people that are really dedicated and put that time into the game.
Against what else?
Okay. Now, before we continue, you will have seen that there is a nice little blue man popping in our conversation labeled Garrett. So like I said, we had two big things coming up. the one big thing was obviously the patch with the implied changes and the wipe. But the second thing is we've got a tournament by Strife HQ and Flaming Cow with a $2,000 prize pool. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. So I've brought in Garrett, aka Gwyn from Flaming Cow, and he will explain to everybody for a brief second, the philosophy behind the tournament and where he sees, this going after the tournament and the future and stuff.
It
Awesome.
looks like he may be muted. See a little
Yeah,
crossed out
I see
microphone
the
by his
same
name.
thing.
There it goes.
Yes.
Garrett.
Hey guys,
How you doing,
Hey.
Garrett?
Hey,
Tell us about the Flaming Cow. Take your time.
He has a stage fright.
His webcam's right.
not at all. I think we have a couple hiccups with our network here as we're setting things up for the tournament. Yeah, I mean we're super excited about Stripe. It looks like a fantastic game. We did a first look at it at DreamHack in November, I believe, and that's up on our YouTube channel. That was a lot of fun. And as soon as we had our permanent studio space set up here in California, we decided we wanted to do an event, and Strife was the first game we decided we wanted to go with. So we've got the studio set.
Oh, I think we lost it again.
Oh.
at least it wasn't hammering this time, like the last time I talked to him.
He'll be back, folks. He'll be back right after these
Wait.
messages.
I'm excited, man. The potential for this is huge.
It is, and there's forget it's 62 teams.
64, I think they raised the cap to, yeah.
64. Yeah, originally it was like 20. Then they're like, 40.
But
60.
yeah. But like traveling back to what I said, I mean, I think it's pretty good that they wiped it so close to the tournament because this shows dedication. This was what tipped me away from the negative Nancy mode, right? Everything is wiped, so everybody starts the same. So it's a leveled playing field up to the tournament. Now, of course, Kaizen and Co will be the experienced ones, so that's kind of an advantage. But that's something that a patch is not going to take away. But here's where I'm at with this, and hear me out for a second. Like,
We have no choice,
we
actually.
have this big big tournament coming up with big monies, right? This is basically Strife saying, okay, boys, okay, girls, we're going to be competitive. Place your bets. I mean, if we look at League of Legends and where you have the teams like Team Solo Mid and stuff, it's not like they play an hour a day and then call it quits and go, I don't know, hang out by the swimming pool or something, right? If you want to be a pro player, it takes dedication. And basically what this now does is it shows how far dedicated teams can come and what they are able to do with the game, because everybody had to start from zero. So it's going to be very interesting to see those people who will have gathered the knowledge prior to this tournament put that knowledge in effect, grind to where they think they need to be, and then stack those odds against other teams, and we'll immediately see the diminishing effects of not bringing the proper items to your matches. Like if say I want to get in on that and I suck ass to the Fed and they squeeze me in with a team that I just randomly picked off Skype, we'll have nothing. I expect us to be pummeled. And if you approach the situation from that point of view, I think it gets very interesting all of a sudden, because I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna make notes about items and custom items and stuff. I'm really gonna look at the customization factor here and see how that shakes things up, because that, after all, it's what makes Strife a second generation MOBA, that you don't have to look at the game with what you have, but you can look at the game like with what you can have. I don't know, how do you guys feel about that?
There's a lot of theory crafting that can go into what you build and what rare bonuses you can get, I I know a lot of the teams before this wipe happened. There's been a lot of discussion between people and players, like the most optimal thing that you can craft with your items, the components and the rare bonuses that would be the best for each hero, right? So like if you're playing, like say Minerva. Minerva's a very mana hungry hero, wouldn't you say? Um, so say you craft a healing rod with a clarity shard, and you put another clarity shard into your dragon shield. That's a pretty decent amount of mana regen in itself. That's gonna kind of stop that. That's just kind of like a little bit of theory crafting, I guess. But I mean, it goes a lot more in depth, obviously.
Yeah, I agree the same way. I need the League or Dota or Han. It's all like what heroes, what items. Now we have what heroes, what items, what pets, and what other items consist of. Like, I have a vampiric dagger with 2 agility stones because I don't really need it for power. I get it for speed, so I don't need the other 2 things. So you have all this mix and matching with all these items and components that you can really build a hero that really you want to build, and anywhere in between, from full-on glass cannon to full-on glass cannon with a little bit of defense and utility. So that's what I like about this game mostly. I think it really separates it from the rest of them.
Yeah, I think you'll see some variety in items with the customization of them with the components and the rare bonuses this weekend in the Flaming Cow tournament. I think it's going to be a very entertaining thing, very knowledgeable, educational.
Yeah.
Now, how do you guys feel about picks and bans being brought back into the mix?
I'm still a little iffy on it because the hero pool is so small that pretty much it's all picks and bans, and then whatever's left is what you get. But I'm sure we can find a way to work it out. I imagine like we'll see constant bans of, I don't know, like maybe Vexes and Rooks, because if teams know each other well enough, they'll say I'm gonna, like Gulliver plays Bastion a lot, so they'll say I'm gonna ban Bastion so Gulliver can't play him.
Yeah.
So I feel we'll have the regular standard. This guy's always banned hero.
I like I like the trash talking without trash talking part that it brings. Like you said, Gulliver and his Bastion. Like if Bastion gets banned, right?
Mhm.
I imagine Gulliver being there, like, oh, that's no bueno.
Huh. Well, it's
So-
like in well, it's like in League or Dota. Like,
I can see R&R smiling.
like people have they play a dedicated role, like a tank, the support, the jungler. Well, such a few like heroes. If like Gulliver can't play Bastion, he has to play a different role or perhaps a different tank that you might not be used to. So people might have to learn to play not just different heroes but also different roles at the same time. Maybe 1 or 2, perhaps even 3. Would say you are now. You're in this. You're in the world.
All right.
Sorry, I was going to say I think it gives a big advantage to some of the teams that are newer that have time to study matches from other teams and look at what their players prefer to play. But like newer teams coming in that don't have a big match history and don't have a lot of games that people can watch of their stuff, you're not going to know what to pull ban out on them.
I agree on that, and I think when it comes down to picks and bans, there's a lot that goes into it. Banning wise, you're gonna see a lot of people ban out specific players during this tournament. I'm almost 100% positive. Not just on our team, obviously. I mean like the top teams like Supernatural, like Illuminati. You're gonna see them ban out people like Ruin or some of those people that are really known. When you're going into a banning thing, there's definitely not a big champion pool in Strife. So what I like about it is, for the teams, it makes you have to have a backup, or 2. You need to have more than one option that you can play and use in these games, and you can't just play the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean?
Okay, but coming back to you, Joe, with your remark. Oh wait, coming back to you, Joe, with your remark about the limited hero pool, and making that kind of like not the best place to perform bans. I think the opposite is still true for other MOBAs. Like if we have a gajillion heroes, like a million billion heroes in League of Legends.
Uh-huh.
And last I checked, it's still like 5. You can still ban 5. I mean, it's kind of it kind of became pointless because if you have 20 AD carries, you know, the original point of picks and bans was like, okay, if we ban those two AD carries, then there won't be as much AD carries that'll fit their comp so nicely. Right? And now you have like a million jillion heroes, so it doesn't really matter if you who you ban because there's bound to be a proper replacement lined up. And
Yeah,
like with Strife, it's like you always gotta have a backup plan. So like if they ban a Rook, bring your Vermilion. If they ban your Moxie, bring a Hail or something like that. I mean, like, can anybody? I'm not the best one to talk about this. So if somebody could grab the mic for a second and run down one or two basic comps and the reasoning behind why it is a good comp. Because
Okay.
part of the point of Strife Talk is sometimes delving into that mechanical territory and going really deep and like the episode we did on jungling, that was very technical, and there was basically an hour and a half long guide on how to jungle, and the numbers were thrown, and it was really technical, and I like those. But at the same time, sometimes, with these more general topics, it's really nice to give newer players a bit of advice and a bit of psychology lessons and basic reasons of thinking towards situations.
Well, all right. So number one lane comp right now that I can give newer players that is pretty easy would be Vermilion and Vex. Vermilion is arguably an easy-ish hero. The only thing you really have to worry about is your positioning. Now, what makes Vermilion Vex strong is the push potential and the poke potential. Vermilion's kit with his Q, his cheese shot that slows and does some damage, and his W, that his piercing shot that goes through pretty much anything that you attack, make him very good at pushing. It makes him one of the best heroes in Strife at pushing. Vex, his Q, does quite a bit of damage, and it slows. He has his Vorpus Seekers that does a decent amount of AoE damage. Not too much early levels, but it's all right. What makes Verm Vex so strong? Vex complements Vermilion because of his shield. Whenever Vex shields himself or Vermilion, it's really hard to CC them until that shield is broken, and it's hard to lock them down. They have quite a bit of burst damage and sustain damage, and they can take control of the lane very quickly.
To comment on that, for newer players, like who are just getting the game, I would not do Vex and Vermilion just for the fact that Vermilion actually is not an easy hero. I mean, the big thing is positioning, but you have to position yourself accordingly to how I guess, the enemy strikes. So, like, if you don't know the strike distance of Minerva's dash or Bow's throw or the distance of their abilities, what other people have, you're not going to get a good Vermilion going because they'll be too close to the fight or they'll be in the wrong spot, and then Caprice will hop onto him and immediately kill him. So you need to know the strike distances of all the heroes to play Vermilion to the max, and basically have like visual cues, because if you see them whenever walking towards you, I have to go the other way right now. Kind of like with Snake Charmers, like Steve Irwin used to do. He has to know the strike distance of the snake to know when he's not going to get bit. So you have to be the Steve Irwin when you're playing Vermilion. You have to know the strike distance.
The Steve, I think we got the episode title right
Yeah.
there. Strife Talk,
Yeah.
episode 7.
Because as Vermilion, because he has no escapes too. So if someone hops onto you, you might not know what to do. So I wouldn't recommend that exactly. But in the future, if you want to do competitive stuff, definitely. I see a good lane composition would be a Malady Ace, because they're all point and click dudes. I'm Malady, point tornado, click, there you go. I'm Ace, point, click, jump, and hit another button, there you go. And they work pretty well together, because she does tornado, does dark storm, he jumps in, spins, and chops. So I'd recommend a Malady Ace.
The way I like to think about lanes, is like I start with if I'm a 5-man comp, I start with like who's gonna play solo bot, right? And then ask that person what he's most comfortable with, he or she is most comfortable with. Say that ends up with a Rook, right? Then I suggest a Hill to babysit the Rook a little bit in the jungle, right? That's kind of like how I how I envision those things. Then you have like your top lane, which is like they're gonna do their own thing. And this is like, this is probably the best tip I can give duo queue players, because I imagine that if you're new at this game, you most likely are gonna do it with a friend, but not gonna run a 5-man friend thing all the time. There's a lot of CC in this game. Joe, you mentioned it earlier that there is that positioning plays a huge part in this game, and Vermilion is a very squishy low HP hero. Um, Point and click is one aspect, but try to match a tanky hero like a Minerva with something like Ray, where you have the CC, or something like Moxie, where you are both communicating with each other in a very rapid sense. Very very on your toes, on your feet, taking into account what's happening in your lane, and then make sure that you have that one player that can shield you from damage, not as a shield per se, but just take a couple of blows. And then make sure that you have a hero with lots of CC in their kit, something like a Ray or something that'll make you able to fight them off when they're going for you. And that'll if your opponent is very strong, you're gonna have a bad time anyway. And the way I found it easiest to negate that when it was just starting Strife was, like I said, have one tanky hero and one CC hero, and go in lane and be super communicative, super responsive. Because a Minerva can dash in, deal a couple of blows. Ray can plant his mine when he's walking away, drop the electric fence, creating a parameter where people can't pass through. And since the Minerva's tanky, you're not going to trade the kill. The Minerva dashes in, focuses away the attention, but the Minerva can take it. So you're not going to give up a kill that easily. I don't know, what do you think, Arnar? You're a pro player. You have a good understanding of this game.
He's been sitting there in the corner.
I think better than Ace and Malady might be an Ace Ray lane. Malady, I could see her being good for new players because it's a point and click, but it's such a double-edged sword. If you miss, she has nothing at all. You play Ray, he's kind of in the same boat, but his stuff is so much easier to land with his playpen box and his mines.
Playpen box, I like that.
That it's a lot. I would say it's a little bit safer than Malady's tornado that's in a straight line. But I think you're right too, Joe. Of course, I mean Ray would just seem like a safer champions for newer players too.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I think Ray's a bit complicated too for newer dudes, because when I first started playing the game, I'm like, he has mines, he has this box, and he has a freeze ray. I had no idea really how to make them work together. But I think he's a good hero still.
Pro tip: focus on one thing.
Right? There you
go. Because you can level all three, but there's a different reasoning behind playing it. If you level the E, right, then you got to focus on auto attack. That's when it's most useful. So build attack speed, build something. Try to go, if you're playing Ray and you're trying to master him, that's what I did. I did 3 different games and I just spec'd everything once. So first, game, I spec'd the mines. I'm like, okay, they don't do as tremendous damage as I want. Okay, so I got to start stacking powers to give him that oomph during lane. That proved to be very effective. Okay, level the E. The freeze ray. This is not proccing as much as I want. Okay, so I should have CDR and I should have attack speed, aka the asshole ray build.
Battle Ray.
So that's the best tip I can give you guys. For example, if you wanna, Rook is much more of a clicky hero. I call these clicky heroes where you have to activate a lot of abilities, but he can dish out a lot of damage. Whereas Vermilion is also a damage dealer, also a solo bot hero, but he only has one clicky spell, one activative ability. So
he's got 2.
Yeah, okay, he's got his ultimate. He's got 2. Okay. But his ultimate is like you throw that. You don't throw that down so many times. But what you do is like you can start with Vermilion, right, and then start to focus on all these really crucial things for solo bot heroes, like positioning and timing and being aware of ganks coming your way. And then when you've
Yeah,
mastered that with
watch.
Vermilion, go back to Rook.
Yeah, watch that minimap like a hawk. That's another thing about newer players. Since there's no wards in the game and people aren't always communicating with you in pub games, watch that minimap like a hawk. That will save you so much grief.
Yeah.
Talking about solo bot players, I've seen this a lot since the patch had already. It seems a lot of people are going back to that 2-1-2 meta again. And just to make it a little bit easier for everybody, the orange circle on the map that's on the top side of the map, Baldir, that's the dragon of this game. That's the reason it's 2 on top, 2 in the middle, 1 on the bot, 1 on the solo lane. That solo lane isn't going to go to Baldir, obviously. You want to have the numbers advantage when you have a team fight or when you have a rotation, even for newer players, when you're at Baldir. And as for Baldir, my best piece of advice for you guys early game is don't do the level 1 Baldirs, because you're going to fall behind drastically in lane if you take that time to do it. If you guys just sit in lane off the bat and kind of keep up with levels and gold and equally, you guys can always rotate to Baldir a little bit later, just ping it or whatever, spam it if you need to, and take it a little bit later. It's going to be a lot more worth your while.
Yeah, level 1 ball deer is like the hot new thing to do right now.
Yeah, but it's stupid.
Yeah,
That's stupid. People don't know. They think I just do level 1 ball deer and things work out, but they don't understand lane experience. Like people think kills are like the most important thing in this game right now, and they really aren't. I mean, it's nice to get a kill, but they aren't super important like in League or Dota. It's like I kill a dude, but I get like $90 later on. I've seen people chase other characters to the ends of the earth to try and get a kill when they get more lane experience and gold.
Yeah.
You know what? I was raging towards Arn. I was raging to R&R yesterday because I had the vent, because I had some pub games and it wasn't very good. And basically what I said to R&R was like, "Oh, remind me never to go solo queue again, because I mean, I think that we should go for objectives like generators and stuff. But I have teammates that chase that low HP rook into the forest while their enemy team is wailing on our generators. I mean, fuck me, right?"
Yeah. Take objectives. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know how to take objectives, or they take the wrong objective. Like a lot of people will give up a tower to go and try and take Baldir, and it's totally not worth it. Because in their minds, I'm getting less money and experience for a tower, but I'm getting more money and experience for a Baldir. And we can just do the tower later, and that is not the right frame of mind to be in.
Yeah, I have one more question, and then something I'm interested in.
Hopefully, Garrett can come back with us and talk.
We'll see. Okay, so R&R, what are the 3 most common laning compositions that you think are currently being run? The 3 most common.
We talking competitive play?
Just in general. I mean, we've all had so many games under our belts now. What do you feel is?
Verm Vex is one of them.
I'm gonna have to say Verm Vex is the top. Solo lane is Moxie, of course. Moxie is just in such a strong place right now. There's some other stuff you can do to change that, but that comes with a lot of different things. Another really good comp is Rook Tinder. Rook Tinder we saw for the first time a while back. It's such a safe lane, and even for the newer players that don't really have it handled, there's so much disengage there and survivability that you could just sit in lane pretty much the whole time and not really worry about anything at that point. It's a very survivable.
Rook Tinder is pretty strong.
I've also seen a lot of bows and rays together. And I like that lane, actually. A lot of Ray bows. With Bow's staff and then Ray's pen, he can always keep Bow safe, and he can always be safe as well, while Bow basically goes all ham on the other enemy team, just crushing them.
Yeah. I think maybe one more would that would have to do with Ray. I guess kind of 2 more would be a Ray ace lane, or I've seen in a lot of matchmaking games. I've actually seen a lot of Bow Malady, which isn't bad at all. It's just there's not there's not much. There is kill potential, but there isn't. It's more like if you land the stun, you're gonna win a trade pretty hard, but it comes down. It's not as strong as the lane as like Bo Ray or Bo.
Yeah, Bo kind of lacks the big burst damage that maybe like Ray or someone else would bring. He's more of a I set him up, you knock him down type of deal, and they're both kind of set up
Yeah.
characters to landing together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, I don't see a lot of Bows and Tinders.
Yeah, Bo seems to be like on the
Bo is the people's champion.
Bo seems to be in like a regressional state. I'm seeing him less and less. I'm seeing
you're right.
I'm seeing a lot of Malady Vex lately.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm seeing
but
a lot of
that's
X's, I'm seeing a lot of Tinders.
that's in pub play. I've seen a lot of lanes where the people like run Malady and Vex, and if you're like squishy like a Vermilion or something, it's a really annoying lane to be up against.
Oh, I agree. Especially if the Malady gets spring boots, man, it's a deadly lane.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it's kind of like, I'm gonna steal your word here for a second. That lane is kind of also like a double-edged sword, because if you really zone them out during the beginning of the lane, so I like to go Vermilion, and this is how I counter it. I go Vermilion, I go attack speed and range primarily, and I just poke, and just really outzone them, and then I take the bow Vermilion. That's what we do, because Bo can keep them at safe at safe distance with his staff throw. So then Bo sacrifices his other abilities to just keep leveling staff, right?
yeah.
Because he's
Actually,
not gonna
both of them.
engage as much. So what you do is you take the damage. You omit a little bit of damage, but you take your range as your primary counter mechanic, and that's really successful, because then you can keep him at bay, fight under their tower, and really gain the upper hand. And then if you're lucky enough to have like a hail roaming around, then they're not gonna do anything. But if you don't get that good synergy with your laning partner, then it's a very deadly lane. And once they start rolling, oh, you're not gonna be happy.
No, I completely agree. Actually, that Bo Vermilion lane you're talking about can really be annoying. There's a lot of annoying poke potential in that
Yeah.
combination with his bow staff and the Q and the W from Vermilion.
Yep. And like
Yeah.
the thing is,
Also-
once you get, oh, sorry, Joe, go.
Newer players, don't buy Empowered Bracer. I know exactly how the game is going to go when I see how many Empowered Bracers are on my team or the enemy team.
A ocean of empowered bracers.
Some Empowered Bracers, not that good.
By
It's
the way,
cost
did you?
efficient, sure.
By the way, I did a money grab, and Strife Talk is now sponsored by Empowered Bracers Inc. where I have to buy a powered bracer every game when I stream, and I go like, oh, look at this item! It's the best item in the game.
Spreading the poison.
Yeah, but talking about sponsorship, even though it was just a joke, Fed, where do you see? We've got this big tournament coming up now. Strife HQ has been running for a while. Obviously, I see this tournament going to give a big boost to Strife in general. Where do you think, if we're looking like 3 months into the future, where do you think we're gonna be? And ultimately, how do you think that Strife is gonna develop as a curve? Do you think it's gonna be like this very explosive thing where all of a sudden, like they say in League of Legends, the Dr. Mundo effect, where all of a sudden it just explodes and is gonna be huge? Or do you think it's gonna like gradually build up? Because I have a feeling that if we have 1 or 2 of these big tournaments, then it's suddenly gonna explode. Because I find Strife one of the coolest MOBAs to watch. The colors are cool, the abilities are cool, the pace of the game is very fast. For a spectator, from a spectator stance, it's very nice.
If I'm honest, I see this game going the same way Smite did. I mean, after this tournament, I reckon we're going to see more people turn around going, oh, here's this new MOBA, I might stream it, and more people going, oh, I'm going to create video content, all that, and it's going to grow now after this tournament quite fast, and all this new content's going to come out, and it's just going to start growing gradually. And with that, I can see, like, in terms of the tournament aspect, in 3-4 months' time, I can see some company come in and just sort of want to make a gradual investment, something small but consistent. I mean, that's what happened in Smite after after 3 months of tournaments with 2 different groups, like one NA tournament, one EU tournament. All of a sudden, Razor came in, and well, Hi-Rez actually took over the whole tournament scene in that game with Razor's backing.
Hmm.
So I think the game will grow, and it will grow consistently. And even now, if you look, like Smite has a 200k tournament on this weekend for their like release tournament, and it is big for a game that's been maybe a year and a half.
No, but yeah, I agree with them. I don't think it's gonna explode ever. I mean, I've talked to developers, and they said like they think they can get to like Heroes of New Earth levels, which may sound bad because people call it a dead game, but it's still played like very, very frequently. So I think once people start realizing,
It's not a small
or-
game, Heroes of New Earth.
no, it's not. People think it is. People say it's a dead game, but it's a huge game. They think they'll get to that level. So, but I think when the game like finally comes out, people will be sick of League of Legends. They'll be sick of Dota. They'll be sick of Han, and they want something new. And Strife release something new. It's like, oh, it's kind of the games I already enjoy with less of the bullshit that's in them. And it also has its own voice, which can like the crafting system and all that. There's much more theory crafting, much more I don't know, things you can do with heroes. I think that would be the main driving force for people to come get it. So I think it'll be big.
Yeah.
Not right away, but it will definitely turn heads.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think for anything starting up, I think the amount of haters are always a good indication if something has potential, because most of this um, nagging kind of like trolling stuff comes out of people comes forth from people being threatened about potential, about things that are or that can happen. Um,
Not always. And people just like Dota or League, and if things not Dota or League or Han, they'll just hate it no matter what.
well,
Well,
So
Some people can't handle change.
others cannot.
I don't play Dota 2 anymore, but I would still go back and watch tournaments and stuff and watch different players who I used to watch.
I love
And sort
Navi,
of the
man.
idea of going back and it's just sort of something I'm used to.
Yeah. How do we feel about speaking of that, how do we feel about the community as it stands? Do you think, I mean, we did episode 2, Strife Talk episode 2 had a lot of emphasis on toxicity, and, at that point, toxicity was the main thing that everybody was complaining about. And I have the feeling it's declined quite a bit. And that's one of the things now that, like, with this patch being released, that's been released. We know that now players are actually going to be in danger of losing their progress, right?
Hmm.
So like if you behave in a negative way, it's gonna have consequences, much more severe consequences than before when it was just implied consequences.
As of right now, I think the community is better than I've seen most. I mean, there's still a lot of newer players, and like the karma system and all that isn't fully implemented yet, or matchmaking. So there's a lot of people complaining about that, and they have a right to. But overall, I've seen less people be a jerk in game than I have in other MOBAs that I've played. So I think it's okay as is right now, but I think it will get better in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Now, let me just take a quick look at OBS. Yes. Okay, so we've been talking for about an hour. As we all know, I like to edit these things down into a smooth 45-minute podcast. I don't really have anything I wanna add to these subjects. I don't know if there's anything that you guys want to bring up or talk about or plug.
Hmm.
Offhand, I don't know.
I'd say go follow Team Kaizen on Twitter because they need more Twitter
Oh
followers.
yeah.
We would appreciate that.
Probably probably one of the top 5 teams. They're gonna make it to the finals,
Yeah, yeah.
unless some sort of super secret team.
Well, we'll see, man. There's a lot of good teams competing this week in the tournament. It's going to be a really good tournament. Looking at the bracket, there's a lot of competition on every bracket side. The finals, they're definitely up in the air. I
So
believe.
how does that make you feel? Are you guys like more nervous now than you were for Strife HQ, or are you like?
I think going into any tournament, including Strife HQ tournaments, there's a little bit of nervousness in it. Like you never know what's going to happen. There's so many good teams. Even in the Strife HQ tournament, when it's small, there's still the teams that are in it are normally really good. This tournament, there's already all these good teams that have participated in the Strife HQ tournaments. Like might sound like a broken record, but Supernatural, Illuminati, Tusser, the Meta, Team Meta, Loch Ness, and all these people that have great potential and great, well-rounded players. That, like I said, the finals. I mean, you could see it could be completely different teams in the finals. It's going to be a very, very good day tomorrow, I believe.
Who do you reckon's going to be? No, the 4 teams in semi-finals. Assuming you've looked at the brackets.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Have you looked at the brackets yet?
Yes, I have.
Who do you reckon's going to be the 4 teams in semis? I'm not going to make you say who you think's going to be first, second, third, fourth, because you might get some hate. But
I mean, I could give you estimates because of the teams I've seen play in the past, but considering how many new teams there are and how many teams that are coming out of the woodwork for this, it's really up in the air. But out of the normal teams, it could be anyone from Thatchy and Wolf Joe's team, Supernatural, Illuminati, Tusser, or I mean us as well. We'll try as hard as we can tomorrow, like we do every week, and there's definitely 6 teams that can end up in the final semifinals for sure that can make it a very interesting top 4 games.
Actually, I guess question for Garrett or Jeremy, if you know, is how are they doing the servers? Because I read originally Kaizen was a bit iffy because the way how they were handling servers.
oh, it's changed to the essentially a mixture between what was originally wrote down and the Strife HQ rules, where yeah, if a team is no 2 servers apart from another team, it'll go to the middle server again,
Okay.
unless both teams say otherwise. And yeah,
Yeah,
So
'cause
basically,
originally it was like winner pick server, right? That was originally what it was.
Right. Originally, we had top seed either pick server or gets first pick / ban, and we changed that. I didn't understand the 3 server setup that Strife had when I had originally edited that rule, and I talked with Mark, and we decided that it was better to swap it over to if it's EU versus US West, you play on the US East servers, unless both teams decide that that's not what they want to do. And if both teams agree to go by the normal rules, then they play by the normal rules of top seed gets to pick. But of course, if you lose the game, then it's loser pick. For picks and bans. If you're playing on the middle server, it's loser pick for picks and bans. If you decided to play by the stock rules, then it's loser pick server, and then the other team gets picks and bans. So.
All right. And how are you doing casting? Because with 64 teams, I don't think you can cast all those games.
So we're actually not starting casting until the round of 32. So round of 64 games are going to start. The stream goes live about 45 minutes after those games start, and we'll jump in with round of 32, and we're going to cast a game from the round of 32, a game from the round of 16, a game from the round of 8, and then we're casting all of the semis and all the finals and the third place match. So it's going to be semi set A, semi set B, which are both best of 3s, then the third place match, which is a best of 3, and then the grand finals, which is a best of 3 as well.
All right. Is there any criteria for deciding which match to cast in the 32s and 16s, or is it just like throw a dart at a board and that's the one you cast?
It's not going to be throw a dart at a board. I'm not familiar with all of the teams as well as my fabulous admins from Strife HQ and my co-caster are, and so I'm going to let the 3 of them sort of sit down and decide what games go on stream. And that's going to be it. I mean, if we end up in a situation where a game is really short or it's delayed and we can fill some time in between with another game, we'll try and do that. but we're going to bring you as many of those games as possible throughout that event. But mostly the big show here is once we get to that semis, that third place, that finals, that's where the money is, and that's where people hopefully are going to be fighting as hard as they can, and those are also the best of threes. So that's I would say that's the main show right there.
Who are the Flaming Cow guys? I mean, are you just a bunch of guys that scramble together some money to give to people, or are you like an established thing, or?
We're kind of an established thing. We started out doing a lot of StarCraft 2 content. Earlier in that, we've run four StarCraft 2 tournaments at this point, with various prize pools and things like that. Like I said, we also go to events and we do live event coverage. We do interview coverage, that sort of stuff. We went to DreamHack this past year. It was our first international event. Woo, DreamHack was great. And we met. We knew about Han. Like, I've watched some competitive Han in the past, and we met the S2 guys at DreamHack, and they were like, "Hey, we have this new game. It's called Strife," and we said, "Can we produce some Strife content?" We did that first look video, which is up on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/flamingcowtv. You can check it out. You will see me.
Yeah, you'll post a link in the chat, I suppose. Probably the easiest.
Yeah. I'm interviewing S2 Cell, the community manager, and then my lovely co-host Jen, who is not with us for this event, but she usually is. She's actually playing Strike. She's playing Moxie. She's got the Thundercat loaded up.
What's her name in the game?
Genevieve Live in Pink.
I'm not gonna spell that correctly.
Anyway, so let me link this in chat.
Yeah.
There you go. All the keys are gone.
But yeah, it's pretty cool, and so we have a studio that we've been building in not Southern California, but in California, and we finished up the studio, and we were like, you know what, the studio is pretty ready to do an event. We need to do an event, and we're kind of itching to do so, and I put out my feelers and S2-bit, and so we said, okay, we're doing a Strife event, and we immediately got in contact with Strife HQ because they were the established people in the scene, and we knew nothing about running Strife events. So this is our first MOBA event, and it's also our first Strife event. We're really excited.
Strife HQ is excited as well. So
yeah, I mean it's like StarCraft 2. You just control one dude, and there's no bases really, and then you don't make
It's we're really happy that there is an established organization in the space that was willing to work with us, and was super accommodating and was like, yeah, sure, we won't broadcast on that Saturday so that you guys can, and we'll help out, and we'll
has Zexu's on his way now, I believe.
I think he's on the plane right now. Yeah. I saw him tweeting some pictures of what pet is that? The plushy pet that's available?
Oh, Moxie.
Moxie, yeah.
No, it's not the Moxie plushie.
It's the courier then.
Right, the courier.
Yeah.
So it's the courier in a seatbelt on the way to the airport, I believe.
Zexu's awesome, man.
Yes.
I like Zexu.
Yeah. Zexu's fantastic.
Zexu and I will be casting. It'll be a lot of fun. So
Yes. Without a doubt. Yeah.
We're super looking forward to it, but we've been running around like madmen today trying to get all the gear set up. Our gear is all up to this point. It's all been mobile because we've done all of our previous productions either in different venues or on site, or we've taken the gear with us to an MLG or to a DreamHack or something like that. And so this is the first time we're able to like set up the gear in a semi-permanent place where it's going to live for all of the events that we do. So we're pretty excited to kick off the new studio with Strife. We've got some champagne to smash on the door. And
oh, you drink champagne.
Of course we drink champagne. We're Californians.
California Republic.
Well, what you guys are doing is awesome, man. We look forward to all of us look forward to tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, and you guys are doing a good job getting into the game really early. I think you're like the first ones on the scene to actually kind of do this thing. So you guys should stick around. Please stick around.
We're all like super excited about this. I don't think I've heard anyone say, "No, that's gonna be stupid," and I don't want to watch it.
Hopefully everyone will tune in. We'll have a a thread up on Reddit. It'll actually be a paid ad up on Reddit for the duration of the event. So it'll always be on the top of the subreddit. So if you go to Reddit /r/Strife, you'll be able to click on that to get to the stream. We're streaming to YouTube Live. We've found that, especially for our EU folks, Twitch can be a little bit laggy sometimes, and we know that YouTube has better success with that. So we're pushing to YouTube Live. Should be a ton of fun. I hope everyone, whether you compete, whether you watch, whatever you do in this event, I hope that everyone has fun and that the experience is smooth and awesome. And may the best team win. I mean, $500 for first place. It's not so bad the first time through.
Yep. Okay, now with that, this show's drawing to a close. I've been your host, Vexy. You can hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/IamVexy. With me have been my panel members, Tintinfish Joe, who you can only hit up in-game. You can find him using Tintinfish Joe. Kaizen Arnar, our respected pro player. We love you, man. I believe you do have Twitter, right?
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I do. You can follow the team at team_KZN or me. I'm at RNRTV. And those are mine. And then the Facebook is tinyurl.com/teamKaizen or teamKZN _.
Yes, and then moving up, we have from Strife HQ, Mark, aka The Fett. You can hit him up on Twitter with @TheFett1. And of course, a surprise visit was from Garrett, who was able to manage some time out in his busy schedule. We really appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on the show. You can hit him up on Twitter. I forgot what it was on Twitter. GWinCraft. See, there you go. That was I knew it was something with craft, but for some reason, airplane popped into mind.
Also, Fett, there's still an HQ tourney on Sunday, right?
No, that there's Wings tournament, the Wrecking Ball tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Racquetball.
Yeah, be sure to play in that as well, because Wings is a good guy, so...
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Okay, now, I'm still... after each episode of Strife Talk, we always do the Strife Talk after matches, where I invite my panel members to come and play a game with Strife and with the viewers, and where we usually get trolled by Team Kaizen, but hopefully they're busy preparing for the new tournament.
We have a Kaizen on our team.
We won't Yeah, last time we had two, and we still got pummeled. But that's okay. So I'm going to fire up the Strife client. The stream is going to go down for a quick second so that I can create two separate files on my hard drive. But stick around, play with us. Unfortunately, no more beta keys during the play, but as you can see, I have my webcam set up now. So when I get trolled by Team Kaizen, you can actually see me cry tears.
That's
Big
right.
crocodile tears.
And remember, follow Flaming Cow TV's channel.
Yes.
You know we love you, Vexy.
I know. Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Vexy out.
For a while.
Yeah, and then back.
Then, yeah.
Oh, what's your new outro music?
Oh, it's fun, Vexy. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it was great having you.